Your mom's situation isn't my responsibility, Danny. I have my own problems to deal with, my girlfriend said when I told her my mother had just been diagnosed with stage 3 cancer. I hung up immediately, blocked her number, and started adding up every dollar I had wasted keeping her afloat for 8 months. What happened when her free ride ended made her realize she had been draining the wrong bank account. I am Danny, 31, and I work as a paramedic here in Phoenix. For the past year, I have been with Savannah, 28F, who works in marketing, or worked, I should say. She lost her job 8 months ago when her company downsized, and that is when my life became all about taking care of her. When Savannah first got laid off, I was completely supportive. Losing your job sucks, and I wanted to be there for her. She fell into what she called a deep depression and said she couldn't function normally. So I stepped up, because that is what you do for someone you love, right? It started small. I would pay for dinner when we went out because she was watching her money. I would drive her places because she said being behind the wheel gave her anxiety. I had listened to her vent about her situation for hours every night, offering support and encouragement, but it escalated quickly. Within 2 months, I was paying her rent because she said she couldn't bear the stress of job hunting while worrying about housing. I was buying all her groceries because she claimed she was too depressed to leave the apartment some days. I was funding her therapy sessions at $150 a pop because she said she needed professional help to process her trauma. My buddy Carlos started warning me around month 3. Bro, she has got you paying for everything while she sits around feeling sorry for herself. When is the last time she even applied for a job? I defended her. She is going through something real, man. Depression isn't just being sad. She needs support. But the demands kept growing. Savannah stopped driving entirely, saying it triggered her anxiety. I became her personal Uber, driving her to therapy, to the store, to meet friends. She had call me at work. I am a paramedic dealing with actual emergencies, to talk about her feelings, or ask me to pick something up on my way home. I used all my vacation days staying home with her on her bad days. I emptied my savings account, keeping her afloat. I stopped hanging out with friends because Savannah said she needed me to be available for emotional support. The worst part was how she'd manipulate me whenever I showed even a hint of exhaustion or frustration. You don't understand what I am going through, she would say. If you really loved me, you would support me without complaining. My therapist says partners should be unconditionally supportive during mental health crises. I cannot believe you are making my depression about you. So I would feel guilty and double down on the support. I thought I was being a good boyfriend. I thought this was what love looked like. For 8 months, I was her therapist, her bank account, her chauffeur, and her emotional dumping ground. 8 months of my life revolving entirely around her needs, while mine didn't even register on her radar. Then my mom got sick. 3 weeks ago, my mom Elena called me at work crying. She had been to the doctor about some lumps she had found, and the news was devastating. Stage 3 breast cancer. Aggressive. She needed surgery immediately, followed by months of chemotherapy. My world stopped. My mom raised me and my sister Maria as a single mother after Dad left when I was 12. She has been my hero my entire life. The thought of losing her was unbearable. I went straight to Savannah's apartment after my shift to tell her what was happening. I was shaking, trying not to cry, explaining that I had need to take time off work to help Mom through surgery and start of treatment. Savannah's response: "This is really bad timing for me, Danny. Bad timing." My mother's cancer diagnosis was bad timing for her. I stared at her, waiting for her to realize how that sounded, but she just kept going. I am finally making progress in therapy, and I cannot handle additional stress right now. You know how fragile my mental state is. That was the moment something inside me just snapped. I realized this wasn't a lapse in judgment. It was who she truly was. Edit. Holy shit. This blew up. To everyone asking, yes, she actually said my mom's cancer was bad timing. And yes, I have receipts for every dollar I spent on her over those 8 months. Edit 2. Some of you are asking about my mom. She is a warrior and fighting hard. Surgery went well and she starts chemo next week. Thanks for all the support. Update 1. Power went out at my place during the storm, but honestly, I needed the break from social media anyway. The last few days have been eye-opening in the worst possible way. After Savannah's bad timing comment, I tried to explain the severity of Mom's diagnosis. Stage 3 cancer isn't something you can just work around other people's schedules. She needed surgery within the week, and I was the only family member who could realistically take care of her. My sister Maria lives in Seattle with 2 young kids and couldn't travel. It was on me, and I was honestly scared as hell about handling it alone. I asked Savannah if she could maybe dial back the therapy sessions for a few weeks, or if she could find other ways to get around so I could focus on Mom's care. Her response made my blood run cold. "I cannot believe you are asking me to sacrifice my mental health for your family drama. My therapist says I need to protect my boundaries and prioritize my healing journey." Family drama. She called my mother's cancer family drama. When I pointed out that I had been supporting her through her crisis for 8 months, she had the audacity to say, "That is different. You chose to help me. I never asked you to. Never asked me to." 8 months of paying her rent, groceries, therapy, gas money, and she never asked for any of it. "What do you call it when you text me that your rent is due and you are stressed about money?" I asked her. "That is just communicating my needs. You decided to help because you are a caring person." The gaslighting was incredible. She had rewritten 8 months of financial manipulation as me being voluntarily generous. But it got worse. The day before Mom's surgery, I was at the hospital for her pre-op appointment. I was terrified, trying to stay strong for her, and I called Savannah just to hear a supportive voice. "Hey babe, I am at the hospital with Mom. Surgery's tomorrow morning. I could really use Danny. I really cannot handle this energy right now," she interrupted. "I have my therapy session in an hour and I need to be in the right headspace." I sat there in the hospital parking lot, watching my mom struggle to walk to the car after her appointment, listening to my girlfriend tell me she couldn't handle my energy. "My therapist says I need to protect my mental health first," she continued. "You need to find other family members to help or figure out other options. Other options for my mother's cancer treatment." I hung up without saying another word. That night, while I was helping Mom prepare for surgery, organizing her medications, setting up the couch where she'd need to sleep because stairs would be too difficult, meal planning for her recovery, Savannah texted me. "You seemed upset earlier. Remember, my therapist says partners need to communicate about boundaries instead of giving silent treatment." I didn't respond. Surgery day was brutal. Mom was in for 4 hours. I sat in that waiting room alone, checking my phone hoping for at least a thinking of you text from my girlfriend of a year. Nothing. When the surgeon finally came out to say Mom was okay, but they had found more affected tissue than expected, meaning more aggressive chemo, I broke down crying in relief and terror. I called Carlos, my buddy from work. He came straight to the hospital and sat with me while Mom recovered. A friend cared more about my family crisis than my girlfriend did. That evening, I got a text from Savannah. "How did the thing go today?" The thing. My mother's cancer surgery was the thing. I didn't respond to that either. The next day, I missed paying for Savannah's therapy session because I was at the pharmacy picking up Mom's pain medication and anti-nausea drugs. The cancer meds cost $400 out of pocket, even with insurance. Savannah called me screaming, "You are being completely selfish. I needed that session today and now I have to reschedule. Do you know how hard it is to get therapy appointments?" I was standing in the pharmacy, holding $400 worth of cancer drugs, listening to my girlfriend scream at me about missing her $150 therapy payment. "Savannah," I said quietly, "my mom has cancer. And I have depression. My mental health matters too. You are being emotionally unavailable when I need you most." That is when it hit me. She genuinely believed her convenience was more important than my mother's life. Edit. Carlos came over last night and helped me go through my bank statements. I have spent $12,600 on Savannah over the past 8 months. Rent, groceries, therapy, gas money, emergency expenses. $12,600. Edit 2. For everyone asking why I didn't see it sooner, when someone tells you they are depressed and need help, and you are naturally a caring person, you don't want to question whether they are taking advantage. I thought I was being supportive. Update 2. Had to stay off Reddit while dealing with Mom's first chemo session, but I am back with an update that will probably make your blood boil as much as mine did. Mom's chemo started Monday, and it has been rough, but she is hanging in there. She is staying at my place now so I can help with medications, meals, and getting to appointments. Watching her go through this while staying positive has reminded me what real strength looks like. Meanwhile, Savannah has been texting me daily with increasingly unhinged messages about how I am abandoning her during her vulnerable time and prioritizing everyone except her. Tuesday night, she showed up at my apartment, unannounced. I opened the door to find her standing there with tears in her eyes, clearly expecting me to immediately comfort her. But I was exhausted from a 12-hour shift, followed by taking Mom to chemo, and honestly, I was done. "We need to talk," she said, pushing past me into the living room where my mom had dozed off on the couch. "Savannah, my mom is resting. We cannot do this here. This is exactly what I am talking about," she hissed in a loud whisper. "You are using your mom as an excuse to avoid dealing with our relationship problems." I stared at her in disbelief. My mother was literally sleeping 20 feet away, bald from chemo, and Savannah was calling her an excuse. I grabbed the folder Carlos had helped me organize. 8 months of bank statements, receipts, and transaction records, and walked outside with Savannah. "You want to talk about our relationship?" I said. "Let's talk about it." I opened the folder and started reading. March through October, your rent, $1,400. Per month, for 8 months equals $11,200. Your groceries, roughly $300. Per month equals $2,400. Your therapy sessions, $150 per week for 32 weeks equals $4,800 gas money. Emergency expenses, dinners out, approximately $2,200. She was staring at me like I was speaking a foreign language. "Total amount I have spent supporting you through your crisis, $20,600. Her face went white. "Now," I continued, "let's talk about what you have contributed to my crisis. My mom was diagnosed with cancer 3 weeks ago. In that time, you have asked about her condition exactly 0 times. You have offered to help exactly 0 times. You have shown up for me exactly 0 times. But you have expected me to continue funding your lifestyle while I am paying for cancer medications and taking unpaid time off to care for my dying mother." Savannah finally found her voice. "Savannah finally through a mental health crisis. And I am going through my mother's cancer diagnosis. Which one of us is facing a life-threatening situation? Mental health is life-threatening. Depression can be fatal." I had heard this argument before, but this time I was ready for it. "You are absolutely right. Depression can be serious. That is why I supported you getting treatment for 8 months. But tell me, Savannah, in those 8 months of therapy I paid for, what exactly did you work on?" She got defensive. "I don't have to justify my therapy to you, fair enough, but I can justify mine. Because I started seeing a counselor last week to help me cope with Mom's diagnosis, and you know what he told me?" She crossed her arms, waiting. "He said that healthy relationships require mutual support, that when one partner is in crisis, the other steps up temporarily, but that dynamic should eventually balance out. He also said that people who use therapy language to avoid responsibility for their actions are actually manipulating the therapeutic process." Her face was getting red now, and when I described our relationship dynamic over the past year, he said I wasn't in a partnership. I was funding someone else's lifestyle while they avoided adult responsibilities. That is when Savannah's mask completely came off. "You are such a martyr," she screamed. "You act like you are so generous and caring, but you are just trying to control me with money, control you." "Savannah, I never asked for anything except basic human decency when my mother got cancer. I don't owe you anything. I never asked you to pay for my stuff." "You are right," I said calmly. "You never asked. You just expected. And when I couldn't meet your expectations because of a family emergency, you called me selfish." She was fully crying now, but they weren't sad tears. They were angry tears. "You are abandoning me when I need you most. After everything we have been through." "Everything we have been through? You mean everything I have carried you through while you contributed nothing? I gave you emotional support." I laughed, and it wasn't a nice laugh. "Emotional support, Savannah? You called my mother's cancer. Bad timing. You told me to find other options for her care. You called it family drama. You haven't asked about her condition once in 3 weeks. You screamed at me for missing your therapy payment while I was buying her cancer medications. If that is what you call emotional support, then I understand why your relationships don't work." That is when she really lost it. You are going to regret this. I am the best thing that ever happened to you. You are nothing without me. You know what, Savannah? You are probably right. Without you, I am just a guy who has $20,600 more in his bank account and can actually focus on his family when they need him. I walked back toward my apartment. We are done. Don't contact me again. You cannot just throw away our relationship, she screamed after me. I am not throwing it away, I called back. I am protecting my mental health. My therapist says that is important. I stood there for a long moment after that, heart still pounding, realizing how strange it felt to finally say those words out loud and mean them. For the first time in months, the silence that followed didn't feel empty. It felt like peace. Edit. Mom heard the shouting and asked what happened. When I told her, she said, "Mijo, I was wondering when you would realize that girl was using you. Moms always know." Edit 2. Savannah has been texting me non-stop since Tuesday. The messages started with apologies and have devolved into accusations. I am saving everything in case I need a restraining order. Final update: had to get a new phone after my old one completely crashed from water damage during a late-night shift at the station. Honestly, the digital break was probably a blessing in disguise. It gave me time to clear my head and focus on what actually matters. Thanks to everyone who has been following this story and sending support for my mom. First, the most important update: Mom is responding incredibly well to treatment. Her oncologist is cautiously optimistic, and she has been staying positive throughout everything. Having my full attention and support during this time made a huge difference in her recovery, and I am grateful I was able to be there for her without distractions. As for Savannah, karma worked faster than I could have imagined. Within a week of our breakup, reality hit her like a freight train. Without my financial support, she had to face the actual consequences of being unemployed for 8 months. Her parents, who apparently didn't know I had been funding her entire lifestyle, were furious when they found out she had been living off her boyfriend instead of job hunting. They gave her 2 weeks to find work or move back home to Minnesota. Suddenly, Savannah's debilitating depression that prevented her from applying for jobs became much more manageable. She had 3 interviews lined up within 5 days. But here is where it gets interesting. Carlos works in Phoenix's marketing scene, and word travels fast in professional circles. When Savannah started interviewing, references to her 8-month employment gap led to questions about what she had been doing. Apparently, she had been telling potential employers that she was freelance consulting during that time, which was easily disproven. Several companies reached out to her supposed clients for references and found out she had been completely unemployed. She ended up having to take a retail job at the mall to make rent. The same woman who told me my mother's cancer was bad timing was now folding clothes at Forever 21 for $12 an hour. Meanwhile, the harassment continued. When blocking her number didn't work, she started creating fake social media accounts to message me. When I blocked those, she had friends contact me on her behalf. The messages followed a predictable pattern that evolved over 3 distinct phases. During the first week, she was apologetic and vulnerable, sending texts like, "I am sorry, I made a mistake. I miss you," as she tried to appeal to my emotions and guilt me into reconsidering. When that approach failed to bring me back, she shifted tactics in the second week to portraying herself as the victim, with messages claiming, "You are being cruel. I am struggling. I need help," as she attempted to make me feel responsible for her well-being. Finally, by the 3rd week, when neither manipulation nor guilt had worked, her true colors emerged completely as she lashed out with accusations. Like, "You led me on, you used me, you are heartless," revealing the anger and entitlement that had been lurking beneath her earlier desperate attempts to win me back. The progression was textbook manipulation, love bombing, victim playing, and finally attacking when all else failed. Last Tuesday, she showed up at my workplace. My supervisor had to call security when she refused to leave the ambulance bay. She was crying and screaming about how I had abandoned her in her time of need. The irony was lost on her. But here is the part that really validated everything. My coworker Mike, who had been watching this drama unfold, pulled me aside after the incident. "Danny," he said, "I have been in a relationship like that. She wasn't your girlfriend. She was your dependent, and she is not mad that you broke up with her. She is mad that you stopped paying her bills." That hit home hard, because he was right. Savannah wasn't heartbroken about losing me. She was panicked about losing her financial security. The real validation came from an unexpected source, though. Last week, I was at the grocery store buying supplies for Mom when I ran into Ashley, one of Savannah's friends who had always been cold to me. She approached me hesitantly and said, "Danny, I owe you an apology. I always thought Savannah was exaggerating about how much you helped her. After she told me how much you were actually paying for, I realized you were basically her sugar daddy. She has been asking all of us to lend her money since you broke up, and when we said no, she had complete meltdowns. That is when we realized this wasn't about love, it was about lifestyle." Even her own friends were starting to see through the manipulation. The biggest revelation came through my sister Maria, who flew down from Seattle last week to help with Mom's care. When I told her the full story of my relationship with Savannah, she said something that changed my perspective entirely. "Danny, you have such a big heart that you mistake being used for being loved. Real love doesn't cost $20,000 in 8 months. Real love shows up when you need it, not just when it is convenient." She was right. I had been so focused on giving love that I had forgotten what receiving it looked like. Which brings me to the best part of this whole mess. Taking care of Mom introduced me to her neighbor, Rebecca, who is a nurse at the cancer center. Rebecca started stopping by to check on Mom during her off hours, bringing soup and offering to help with medications. I was immediately attracted to her kindness. But what impressed me most was how she treated my mother with genuine respect and compassion, not the fake sweetness Savannah used to put on around my family. Last week, Rebecca asked if I wanted to grab coffee after one of Mom's appointments. We ended up talking for 3 hours about everything except Savannah drama. She is intelligent, independent, and when I mentioned some work stress I was dealing with, she listened and offered thoughtful advice, instead of making it about her own problems. The contrast is mind-blowing. Rebecca pays for her own coffee. She drives herself places. She asks about my family and remembers what I tell her. She has her own life, interests, and goals that don't revolve around what I can provide her. We are taking things slow because of everything with Mom, but for the first time in over a year, I am excited about spending time with someone instead of dreading what they will need from me. As for Savannah, I heard through the grapevine that she has been posting on social media about toxic men who abandon women during vulnerable times, and learning to value herself after being manipulated. The lack of self-awareness is stunning, but I am not surprised. People who take that much from others rarely acknowledge their own behavior. I spent 8 months thinking I was being a good boyfriend, but I wasn't in a relationship. I was running a charity that came with sex. The moment I needed something back, the truth became crystal clear. Thanks Reddit for helping me see the situation clearly when I was too close to it. Sometimes you need outside perspective to realize you are not being loving, you are being used. Edit. For everyone asking about Mom, next scan is in 2 weeks, but her energy is coming back and she has been cooking again, which is a great sign. Rebecca has been amazing with her, and Mom keeps hinting that she approves of this one. Edit 2. Someone asked if I would take Savannah back if she showed genuine change. Honestly, I spent 8 months watching her choose herself over everyone else during her crisis. She showed me exactly who she is when times get tough. Rebecca has shown me what a partner looks like when times get tough. There is no comparison.